Laura, Owen and Korky Paul. Winnie shapes up. SSSHH. Winnie. There was only a murmur of polite conversation in the shop until Winnie came in, barging her way like a rampaging rhinoceros. Crash! She had red spots all over her, and she was scratching at them. Itch, itch. Oh, I'm as itchy as a witchy in a ditchy full of itching powder, said Winnie. Trip. Crump. She knocked over a display. Sorry, shouted Winnie. There was a queue for the counter, but Winnie shoved to the front. Itch, scratch. Excuse me, she shouted. I need just one incy little ingredient so that I can make a pepper gherkin potion to get rid of my rash. I'll be as quick as a lick on a lolly stick, I promise. Mr. Shopkeeper, have you got a jar of nobble pickled gherkins and a chili pepper or two? Well, really, huffed Mrs. Palmer. All this noise is most unnecessary. You should join our sponsored silence at school, Winnie. A sponsored what? Asked Winnie. Silence, said Mrs. Palmer, pulling a leaflet out of her bag. You get people to pay you for every minute that you can keep absolutely quiet. Coo, said Winnie. The money goes to the poorest children in the world, said Mrs. Palmer. Double coo like a blooming pair of doves, said Winnie. I'll do that for those poor little ordinaries. Ha! You'll never keep quiet, said the shopkeeper. The other customers all laughed at the idea as well. I blooming well will, humphed Winnie. I can keep quiet for, oh, ever so long. Do it now, then, said Mrs. Palmer. All right, said Winnie. Tee-hee. Ha-ha, went everybody. You just said something. That's not flip-flapping fair, said Winnie. If you promise me money to be quiet, then I'll keep as quiet as a fossil with a gag on, you'll see. So they all promised to pay Winnie to keep quiet, and she hurried home. Hey, Wilbur, said Winnie. I'm going to keep quiet for the poorest little ordinaries in the world. Me how, wondered Wilbur. I will, said Winnie. Itch. Now, please help me make that potion, Wilbur. If I can just stop this itching, I'll be calm and quiet and make lots of money. So Wilbur mashed gherkins squelch. And Winnie bashed peppercorns crunch, and they popped in the chillis and blitzed it all in a mango masher bzzz, and out came some green glip. Winnie slopped the glip into her hand and slapped it all over her face. There. Have the spots gone? Asked Winnie. Wilbur pointed to the mirror. Winnie looked and put her hands to her cheeks. Heck, the spots have turned blue. Then she gasped and gasped again. Aught-a-shoo. Meow? Asked Wilbur. I've got the SNSN sneezes, wailed Winnie. Aught-a-shoo. And blue spots. Something's not right. Wilbur went to the computer and clicked the mouse to find the symptoms and their causes website. Wilbur typed in blue spots and sneezes. Click! The computer spoke the result. These symptoms are indicative of an allergic reaction to a surfeit of pepper. Not dangerous, but may cause strange dreams. Symptoms should disappear within 24 hours. Oh, no, wailed Winnie. But that's too late, wailed Winnie. Aught-a-shoo. I've got to keep quiet for the sponsored silence. Aught-a-shoo. Today. Wilbur brought Winnie a hot drink of warm parsnip juice. Aught-a-shoo. He brought her a hot warty bottle. Aught-a-shoo. Heckin' a hanky, nothing, aught-a-shoo, is going to work, said Winnie. So Wilbur brought Winnie her wand. Oh, of course. Silly me, said Winnie. Aught-a-shoo. Abracadabra. And instantly, there was a bottle with a seething pink liquid in it and a large spoon. Winnie took a spoonful of pink stuff, then made a face. Then there was silence. The sneezing had stopped. "Who blooming Ray," said Winnie. Then, "Hick! Hick, hick, hitch hick! Hitch hick! He shick! Hick! Hick hick!" "Oh, flipping noodles," said Winnie. "Hick! Now I've got hiccups that won't hick. Hick! Stop. However am I going to keep quiet?" "Blue!" Hiss, went Wilbur to give Winnie a shock. "Yikes, Wilbur, you made me jump like a flea in a frying pan." But, silence, the hiccups had gone. "Yay," said Winnie. "Let's go." Down in the school hall everyone looked surprised when Winnie walked in. "Booer, with all that hiccup fun I'd forgotten about the spots," said Winnie. But the little ordinaries and Winnie all sat down and put fingers to their lips. "Now," said Mrs. Palmer, "we will count down to absolute silence. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Silence until, hick, went Winnie. Winnie clamped a hand over her mouth, but she couldn't hold them in. "Hick! Hick!" "Disqualified," boomed Mrs. Palmer so loudly that Winnie jumped as high as a kangaroo on a trampoline, and the hiccups were properly gone. "Ooh, 000, please let me try again," said Winnie. "For the sake of those poor little ordinaries?" "Oh, I suppose so," said Mrs. Palmer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Silence. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Silence for a minute. Winnie rested her head on the table. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Silence for half a minute more, then. Snore. Grunt. SNSN snore. Wilbur the. Disqualified, whispered Mrs. Palmer. Wilbur put his head in his paws. The little ordinaries kept quiet for minutes and minutes, but then they were beginning to get bored until something wonderful happened. Winnie started to talk her dream. Wilbur the panther stalks his walk and talks to a teasing monkey in a tree. "And that monkey is me. And I'm flying on a banana wee. Up to where my wings flip-flap fly me to the big silver moon. That's a pool of deep water, and in I dive." The little ordinaries sat in silence, listening to the mumble of dream as an hour and more passed. The words tumbled and the clock tick-tocked and on Winnie went. "So we make sandwiches of leaves and bugs and pepper, lots of pepper," and I sniff, and Winnie suddenly sat up, looking startled. "Ah," she went. "Ah, tissue." And off shot her blue spots, to land on Mrs. Palmer. "Ha ha ha," laughed the little ordinaries. "BRRRRP," went Mrs. Palmer's whistle. "Disqualified, all of you." "The sponsored silence is at an end," said Mrs. Palmer. "Oh! Was that my flipping fault?" asked Winnie. "In a way,